Mirrors are everywhere. From fairy tales to real life, a day won't go by without seeing one. Their purpose is clear. You look into a mirror to see yourself, your reflection. But mirrors in media tend to show more than just your reflection. And after this video, you may never see mirrors the same way again. I'm TW Halfling, and I was wondering, what is the hidden meaning of mirrors? Before we can address the hidden meaning in mirrors, we first need to establish the basics. What you would expect to see, because unlike other media, in Slay the Princess, you don't know who you are, but the narrator soon fills you in on what you're doing.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess.
And why?
You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
So you're obviously the hero of the story, but he won't tell you anything else.
I've told you everything you need to know. Going into more detail will just overcomplicate an otherwise very simple situation and make your job more difficult.
To find out more, you're going to need a mirror. And to do that, you've got to play through the game. When you enter the cabin, you check your surroundings. No mirror, but there is a pristine blade on the table.
The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
You can choose to heed the narrator's advice and take the blade.
You take the blade from the table.
Or just leave it there. You could also choose to talk to or ignore the princess. Ultimately, the game boils down to two options. Do you slay the princess, or do you try to save her? Depending on your choices, you end up with one of two outcomes.
This is it, isn't it?
Either the princess dies, or you do.
And then she slits your throat with an almost clinical ease. Everything goes dark, and you die.
In most cases, you find yourself back in the woods at the beginning, but this time, you're in Chapter 2. You head back down the trail to the cabin. But things are different now. Here, we see our first mirror, although it's caked in a layer of dust. It looks like you will literally need to uncover the truth, but as you reach towards the mirror, it vanishes. You ask the only person with answers, but the narrator denies the mirror even existed in the first place.
That's because there isn't a mirror.
However, you do get the first piece of the puzzle. A piece of you. You may not have seen your physical reflection, but as you reach towards the dusty mirror, you do so with a feathery talon, not a human hand. There is one path where you don't reach Chapter 2. If you unquestioningly follow the narrator's instructions, you end up slaying the princess and accepting an eternity of euphoric numbness. But such a path meant that you didn't really need the mirror, because you didn't take any action yourself. The simplest usage of the mirror is also its first hidden meaning: reflection. In Joker, Arthur Fleck is literally fleeing the consequences of his actions. He'd just murdered 3 people that attacked him in a subway. Still full of adrenaline, his mind and legs racing, he seeks refuge to calm down and get rid of the murder weapon. And where does that journey end? A mirror. 3% is a dystopian thriller hosted on Netflix. It's primarily a commentary on wealth inequality, but to make it sound more interesting, think of it as the Brazilian Hunger Games. Every year, a set of tests, the process, is issued to the general public, and only the 3% that pass get to join the utopia known as offshore. Ezekiel is the leader of the process. Think of him as the show's President Snow. Obviously, being the one behind the poverty and loss of life of most of the population, he has a lot of issues. Before every major decision, he stares himself down in a mirror, then nearly drowns himself to clear his mind. In Slay the Princess, the mirror appears in Chapter 2 by design, because now there is something to reflect upon your actions. You chose how to interact with the princess. Like Arthur, you may now be a murderer. Like Ezekiel, you may have made hard choices for what you felt was a greater good. Like both of them, your actions cannot be undone, but unlike them, you can decide if things are going to be different this time. There's clearly a lot more to this story that we're missing, and once the mirror is clean, we can learn more about ourselves. Something else we know about mirrors is that they're fragile. I'm sure you can think of countless games, movies, or shows where they're smashed, cracked, or shattered. But why? There is something I omitted about the first chapter that I feel important to mention here. Earlier on, I said, "So you're obviously the hero of the story." But that isn't quite right. He is the hero after all.
We're not going to go through with this, right? She's a princess. We're supposed to save princesses, not slay them.
From the start of the game, the hero is a voice in your head, a caricature of the good that dwells within you. He isn't a blind stereotype of the knight in shining armour, but certainly leans towards doing what is right. Throughout the game, he acts as a kind of conscience. He gives you good reason to question the narrator and to give the princess a chance. From the get-go, you have a voice in your head telling you to slay the princess, and a voice saying that there may be other options, that this situation might not be as simple as it seems. He changes the game from a narrative-driven storyline into a game about choice, your choice. Whether or not you take the blade, whether or not you question the setting, whether or not you slay the princess, these decisions are in your hands, and they impact something vital in Chapter 2, because the hero is not the only voice that can appear in your head. These voices all have their own personalities and desires based upon what they represent. If you put blind faith in the princess being harmless and kind, you are united with the smitten, someone infatuated with the princess, acting out of love and blind devotion.
Then you should know that we and the princess are in love.
If you choose to fight the princess to the bitter end, you recruit the stubborn, someone hard-headed and filled with fighting spirit.
Like hell it is. We're not giving up that easy. Now get up.
And if you succumb to worry and fear the princess, you lose yourself to the paranoid, someone cowardly and pessimistic.
Heart, lungs, liver, nerves.
With each voice that you discover, you also discover a new aspect of yourself, one that you may have thought you never had. But how do these relate to smashed mirrors? Well, think about what caused these events to occur. Towards the end of the game Little Nightmares, you explore an area called the Ladies' Quarters, and note that all of the mirrors are smashed. The area naturally houses the Lady, a woman who hides her face behind a porcelain mask. At the start of Beauty and the Beast, Belle wanders through the forbidden west wing of the castle. She passes a series of smashed mirrors before encountering the Beast. In Arcane, Jinx sits before a broken mirror and argues with the voices inside her head. These broken mirrors symbolise rejection and fractured personalities. They're all plagued by unresolved issues of their pasts. The Lady cannot accept the loss of her beauty. Beast longs to return to his human form, and Jinx wants to go back to a time before she made her mistakes. But it isn't just rejection of change, it's rejection of themselves, the parts of themselves that they refuse to accept. Now that you are aware of these new parts of yourself, you can also choose how to treat them. You've already been ignoring them, that's why the mirror was dusty and neglected. And if you continue this way, then you'll never see your reflection, even if you reach the mirror. You could reject them, like the Lady, the Beast, and Jinx. You could smash the mirror and take out the fragments that you don't like, but as you look down at your bloody hands and gaze at the fragmented reflection, you'll realise that not only are you missing something, but it hurt to get rid of it. These stories show that not accepting yourself and all of your flaws often does more harm than good. The voices are manifestations of your actions, mirrors. The meaning these mirrors hold is self-acceptance. Regardless of your choices, all of these fragments are required to form the whole, to form you. And you need all of these pieces to build the mirror. Be kind to yourself and all of the voices, and maybe you'll see a little more than you did before. At the end of your journey, the voices fade, leaving only the quiet behind. And so you clean the mirror, but your reflection remains hidden. You're nothing without your other half, after all. There's somebody we've forgotten, someone integral to this story, someone waiting in the basement.
Hello? Is someone there?
And with them lies the final clue, the last hidden meaning in the mirror. Everyone always asks who is the princess, but no one ever asks how is the princess, except maybe the smitten. You see, the princess is quite important for this story, if you hadn't guessed by the title. And she also changes quite a lot depending on your actions. Even the most basic interaction has a significant impact. Every time you reach the cabin, you have a choice. Take the blade, or leave it. So how does this affect Princess? Bladeless, the princess gives you a soft greeting.
Hello? Is someone there?
She has a more relaxed demeanour and is friendlier with you.
Hi.
But with blade in hand, her greeting is assertive and aggressive.
Who's there?
To be honest, these actions are perfectly normal if you saw somebody enter a basement you'd been trapped in for God knows how long. It would be sensible to pander to this stranger, as that goodwill might make your situation better. But if they showed no signs of letting you go, it would be cathartic to let this stranger know that your will would not be broken so easily. These reactions make sense, but what doesn't make sense is how she knows which is which before she sees you come down the stairs. Depending on if you take the knife or not, she will respond to all of your interactions a little bit differently. To keep things easy to follow, taking the blade makes the princess aggressive, so let's call her the sharp princess, and the opposite of sharp is soft, so we'll call the other princess the soft princess. How you choose to interact with the princess from this point changes what happens in Chapter 2, and for the savvy viewers, you'll probably have guessed, each new voice has a new princess counterpart. But the princess changes far, far more than you do. Whatever route you end up on, all paths lead to Chapter 2. Each route has a different cabin, and their aesthetics foreshadow the princess that dwells within. If you met the soft princess and were smitten with her, the cabin interior now resembles a regal castle. The princess within, wearing ostentatious attire, more typical of her title, she becomes a damsel to be saved. If you met the sharp princess, but remained paranoid of what she could do, the cabin is unsettled. The interior barren, its table upturned, and windows non-existent. A gaping void has replaced the door. The princess within wears a tattered dress with long pale gloves and a cracked porcelain mask affixed to her face. Something straight out of a nightmare. If you were cold and killed the sharp princess immediately, but went back to make sure she was dead later on, just to be safe, you find that she remained dead. The cabin, long abandoned, everything covered in a thick layer of dust, and the wallpaper peeling and decayed. The princess's body remains, but still she could not escape the bounds of the cabin. Her spectre haunts its basement. If it wasn't already obvious, the princess and the cabin are more mirrors. This time, a reflection of your internal beliefs and judgments. When you enter the basement looking to give the princess a chance, you encounter the soft princess, someone warm, trusting, and willing to cooperate. Taking the blade is done out of caution, aggression, or dominance, and that's what you find in the sharp princess. Each major shift in personality you embody through your actions is reflected in kind by your assumptions about her. I mentioned earlier, the literal mirror in Chapter 2 gives you a chance to reflect, so obviously, with each of these new princesses, you have a chance to change your ways or continue down that same path. And once again, these paths either end in her death or yours. Some routes end earlier than others, but those that continue have the princess embody a reflection of your thoughts about her, and as those thoughts change, so does she. If your will breaks and you give in,
Completely broken.
you return to the cabin in Chapter 2, decorated like this. The princess this time literally towering over you, a physical manifestation of your helplessness.
Drop it.
You may try to defy her,
As if on command, the blade slips from your grasp.
but you're broken, so you'll fail once again. She displays her power and either commands you to end your own life,
You bring the blade to your neck,
or simply stills your beating heart with a word.
and you die.
Now in Chapter 3, viewing her as something undefiable literally deifies her. You reach the cabin and see that she has become a true goddess, one that can even overpower the narrator. In Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry stands before the mirror of Erised and sees his parents stood either side of him, wearing proud, content expressions. The mirror reflects not only your image, but a core internal belief that you hold and may not have even been aware of. Another example of this from the Potter universe is the boggart. A boggart is an entity that
Take the shape of whatever a particular person fears the most.
the princess can be either of these, or anything in between. And like the mirror and the boggart, as your internal beliefs change, be them fears or desires, so too does she. Eventually, you reach the mirror once again. By this point in the game, you've unravelled, you've withered, and you've grown. And finally, when you gaze upon the mirror, you start to see yourself for who you really are. And as you understand more about yourself, perhaps you can start to understand others as well, but that may be a topic for another video. This one is about you. Mirrors can come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and they can reveal all kinds of hidden meanings if you're brave enough to see past your reflection. Arthur saw the consequences of his actions, the lady saw rejection, Harry saw his deepest desires. But I wonder, what hidden meaning does your mirror hold? What do you see in the mirror? Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that for as little as £1 on Patreon or Ko-Fi. Or, if you want more videos about hidden meanings, you'll probably enjoy this. Thanks for watching, and keep wandering.